Let's see here, record. Okay, so I hope you die laughing. Now, as a salesperson, I learned about embedded commands. I hope you die laughing includes the phrase "I hope you die." Yet this guest we've had on before, Nicole Harvey, attorney from the Silver State of Nevada, doesn't hope we die without a proper estate plan. But you don't really hope we die soon, do you?
Gosh, no. I know we all will. If there's one thing you can count on, it's that.
And we might as well laugh while we do it.
That's right. It helps. It helps get through the difficulties of this very difficult process.
Well, and we're going to start with the back part. Normally, I would interview somebody and at the end talk about how to get in touch with them and what material they had to learn from. In your case, you've written a book, I Hope You Die Laughing, which is on Amazon. As I said to you, as I was waiting for us to start, we've done this a couple times. I look and go, and I read, oh my gosh, I hope you die. Like, why would she say that to me? and your words, not mine. The cover is a little dark. It's kind of science fiction-y dark. But you did this on purpose. So talk a little bit about what your thinking was on the design. In addition to sharing your knowledge about the law, what's the message you're trying to convey with the title and the graphics, and throughout the book, the graphics that you've used?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I worked with Anthony Gregg, who's the artist and illustrator behind the artwork and really the layout and design of the book. In my practice, I've been practicing for 17 years. I learned early on that this is a hard topic. This is a topic that some people will just get up and leave the room because it's too close to the bone. And in my personal life, I've learned that when things are scary, if I can laugh at them, they become a lot less scary. And I began to incorporate a little bit of levity in sort of a lighter approach, a more lighthearted approach, which seems, maybe crazy, but it's almost like some sugar that helps the medicine go down, and if I can get people sort of laughing at some part of this, it lets them breathe a little easier and put their guard down. So in the first edition of this book, which was 10 years ago, it really was just designed for people to come to see me. So if you made a consultation with me, I'd send you this book. It had a lot more personal stories and things to do with my office and my practice so that you would be fully prepared to talk to me. This is the third edition. And so with this edition, I decided to take the approach of equipping anybody to see any lawyer in the United States to talk about this, to have this conversation. And so the book starts with, how do you find a lawyer? How do you hire a lawyer? And gets into what's this whole process going to be? But along the way, I infused it with some of those jokes and, some of the sort of funnier things that I can bring out in this process, because I think for the reader, it also helps to bring it along. So when I sat and talked with Anthony Gregg about this, he kind of raised an eyebrow and he said, "What is this book about? What do you do?" And it took him a little time, to think about how do we make this funny? And so I started basically giving him my consultation, right, and sharing some of my approach with him. And he started to develop some ideas. And in that conversation, I asked him, "Did you ever read the book Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark?" And he said, "Yeah, that's the book that made me want to draw." And I used that book as an example because those stories were scary and they were about death and dying. And, that was also full of funny songs and poems. And some of the stories were funny or had this funny twist at the end. But the artwork, you couldn't look away from. The artwork was kind of scary, but you couldn't look away from it. And the more you looked at it, the more you can see.
Like this.
Like chapter 1, clearing hurdles. Right. And so here this guy's got his important papers, we all have a file somewhere of important papers, and he's got to clear these hurdles. You can see the checklist on the tombstone, diving into this open grave with the casket laying right there under the moon. Right. And so that was his. Once he got that concept, I told him, I don't want to tell you what to draw. Right. So he would read a chapter and then he would come up with an illustrative concept. And we would kind of work it out from there. And that's how we put together each chapter illustration.
And then you have with chapter quotes some real humor here from MASH, for those who, a TV show, Major Burns, Can't You Ever Be Serious? Captain Pierce, which was, I'm trying to blank on his name. Hawkeye Pierce.
Yeah.
Alan Alda. I tried it once, but everybody laughed.
Yeah. Yeah, I got to say, I think that show in particular, showed me that you can be a professional and you can deal with really hard things, awful things, and get through it by finding some way to laugh along with others. Maybe
Or
not
maybe,
like at the trauma, but around it.
or maybe the humor is the tool to get through the trauma. Like how else? It's almost inhumane to think about if you think about what they were really going through in Korea as a medic at a MASH unit, how horrific, right? Every day, just more mangled guys coming in and dying. Half of them, I guess, whatever the number is, dying. And how do you deal with that day after day after day? And if you don't joke about it, I imagine it gets difficult. And if you hear them joking, you think, well, that's callous and that's rude. But they're the ones there saving people's lives. They're the ones putting their lives on the line. So I guess, okay, so there you go. So I met you the first time. It was funny because I knew you had the book, but I didn't really look at it online much. I just saw the cover or whatever. And to me, you seem very buttoned down, very traditional, very, I don't know what a typical attorney. Is that an insult to say that to somebody? I don't know. Don't mean it that way. I'd seen you advertising in a service I thought was great. I liked your concept. And so all of a sudden, I see this humor, yet scary side. And so I guess the thing that I would focus on here is, it seems like you're focusing on the soft skills of being an estate planning attorney, not the technical side, right? Meaning you can replace, and we talked about this also in the beginning today, how AI can really change our content and replace some of the administrative work, but it can't change the human to human. And as an attorney, I would say you need to kind of balance, I think, as a real estate agent, both the technical knowledge, forms, information, knowledge, but you have to have the soft skills too. And if you're not attentive to that, you're going to be a great attorney with no customers or with very dissatisfied customers.
That's right. That's right. I hear more and more from folks who work in maybe bigger firms, like those larger organizations are constantly looking for ways to cut down on the attorney time required to produce an estate plan. And I understand that there's certain like administrative tasks and the value of my time and all of that stuff, but I won't cut from the consultation. I won't cut from the document review meeting with the client. I won't cut from supervising the signing, because that's where my value is. Not to say, just any lawyer could do an estate plan, but there's tools out there, right? You could go to probably almost any lawyer to do this, but it's really taking the time to understand the client, to allow them to be heard. I always tell my staff here, I want people to feel comfortable and confident when they sit down to sign these documents. Because I've seen it. I've seen it where people aren't comfortable and confident, and they'll kind of go through it, and I've heard from people who have said, oh, we got home and I threw it all away because I didn't know what it meant and I didn't want it. And it's just like, what? Why'd you pay for it? But if people aren't comfortable and confident, it doesn't do them any good. It doesn't matter how smart you are or how well those documents are drafted. People have to understand them.
And I think comfortable and confident also means not just comfortable and confident in your advice and the documents you prepare, but comfortable enough to open up and say, I didn't really mention this, but I have a son from a prior marriage, I have an ex-wife, I have a this, I have a that. And if you don't talk about it and then you pass away, sometimes those things come back and can invalidate the work that you've done or undermine the work that you set out to do.
Yeah, that's very true. In the first chapter of the book, it talks about this aspect of hiring a lawyer. Find somebody that you feel comfortable with, because in that first meeting, you're going to tell them what money you have, what assets you have, which child is your favorite. There's a lot of intimate conversations that are happening with this person.
Right.
And so if you don't feel comfortable, if you feel like this person is too sterile or doesn't hear you or doesn't relate to you, you're not talking to the right person, and that's okay. There's hundreds of lawyers out there.
I also think that, in the age we're in now where technology is so powerful, it can make a below average attorney look above average, not be, because they can copy documents from the best attorney in the world and have the longest, most elaborate, most difficult to understand, most comprehensive, even good documents. Even if they found something that was perfect, it was great, it just might not be great for that customer, that client, or the client's not comfortable and confident enough to share where those pitfalls are. And that's the whole difference. It's not the documents, it's not the legal knowledge. In some cases, it is important to have, but in some cases, it's the interaction, the human and the soft skills that's the big difference. And I just see that lacking so much in the industry.
Yeah. And if you can couple those, if you've got the technical skills and the soft skills, you're going to have a great practice and you're going to help a lot of people.
Yeah. So you talked about people who you've seen leave attorneys throw the forms away. The opposite I see as a realtor is the customer so proud of their meeting with their attorney. The attorney gave them this beautiful binder, and they have all kinds of forms. And you open up, and none of them are signed, including the grantee is not signed. I've seen that, I don't know, 50 times in my career. And they're so proud of it. They go, oh, yeah, we have the whole estate plan. Let me show it to you. Because I'll ask them, I'll say, I noticed you have the property and your name's not in the estate. Oh, no, we have an estate. Really? Well, where is it? And they pull it out.
Let's see it.
So part of estate planning to me is there's the legal side, having the right documents and understanding the laws, tax laws and succession laws and all that stuff. But there's also, I think, understanding the nature of human beings, which is you have to deliver as a service to your customer if you're in business. You're a business person as well as an attorney. Talk a bit about how you try to motivate or follow up with customers or clients in effectuating the plans that you work with them on.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that really starts with getting to know that person as quickly as I can, or kind of, assessing like what's important to them, where their interests lie, what was their motivation for starting this conversation. But it really is that touch. I say that we don't pull people through the process because that's not fair, right? Or I'm sorry, we don't push them through the process. We pull them through the process, right? So in that first conversation, in that consultation where they're opening up and we're talking about these things before they leave, they're scheduled to have the document review session, even though we haven't even started drafting. I just had the conversation, right? And then it's up to our team to get that draft ready, to QC it and all that stuff. And then they get a call from client care from the same person that's, helped them schedule everything to confirm that appointment. Do you have any questions? And make them feel like we're bought into them. We understand you. We care about you. We listen to you. And we are so bought into your success here that I hope people would feel bad if they had to cancel an appointment, and then the same thing when they come in to review those documents with a lawyer. Or we do that on the phone or Zoom or whatever. Before that meeting's over, they're scheduled to come in and sign their documents. And in between time, they get a call from customer care. This is, how did that go? So it's the client care for us has been kind of key in keeping a pulse check on the client and, kind of preventing any, running away in the middle of this, or kind of dealing with any objections or concerns, but also kind of getting almost not quite a survey score, but, kind of a check on like, how are we doing? Right. So you meet with a lawyer and then someone else calls and says, how did that go? Did you get your questions answered? And, do you feel comfortable to go ahead and sign on the day that you're scheduled? So there's a lot of those personal touches, not just me, throughout this process to keep people engaged with us.
So the process of estate planning and building your business, you probably both market to end users, people in estate plans, as well as, I imagine, other professionals. Mm-hmm. What percentage of business is consumer direct and what percentage is coming from other professionals?
I would have to say it's more from professional referrals or referral partners.
Which is common. And so what kind of referral partners do you work with most, and what do you do to earn that business besides give great service?
Well, yeah, and I give them some great books to hand out to their clients, right?
Well, some funny humor in the books and some odd artwork, but yes.
Yeah. Well, I will say that the book is targeted to, I would say, late boomers and Gen X as sort of the new wave of fresh interest in this process. Right?
Got it. That's a nice way of saying I'm too old to understand the humor. I got it. But actually, I saw that episode of TV, so I'm not that old. But
you're not that old. Yeah, you're not that old. So we, I would say financial advisors, CPAs, insurance agents. Those are probably our biggest partners. Other attorneys who are in practice areas like personal injury lawyers where their clients are about to get some money and they're telling them you need to go set up a trust or have a plan. Right. Divorce lawyers, now that this divorce is final, you need to update your plan. And so there's a couple of things we do with those relationships. One, I make it a priority to have like a one-to-one meeting with referral partners pretty regularly, whether that's like over the phone or a Zoom or meet for a coffee or have some breakfast or, those kinds of things. We also offer for them like a client appreciation event, which is an estate planning seminar. But I don't really focus this pitch on come see Nevada Counsel for your estate plan. I talk about the book as a tool, as a guide for them to find their right attorney, into, to start this process and how to shop for the lawyer, and, as much as it is about what to expect in the estate planning process. So it's not really very sales pitchy. It really is very educational and informative. And we have some very good reception with that. So we have partners that want to have that, quarterly or, twice a year as their fresh clients come in. Real estate agents is another one.
I would think real estate agents would be number one. I mean, every transaction we do, two things. One, there's usually a lot of money involved, or at least the majority of people's net worth. And second, we know if they have an estate plan because it's right there in our preliminary title report or our contract, right? I have a listing, selling a probate, people writing offers. They write offers. Mary and Joe Smith. I know they don't have an estate plan. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not their agent. If I was, I would say, hey, well, maybe we should do this now and get it in place so that you have it bought, title insurance, and ready to go. So why do you think it is? I'm just curious what your impression is. Why do you think realtors, we just don't care enough about our customers to go deep and refer it? Or because I'm just surprised.
I don't know. Like I said, I've got a couple of realtors that are solid referral partners. But I think that you guys, like you said, are so involved in this big transaction, right? I mean, to you, it's one of many big transactions. To your client, this might be one of the biggest transactions of their life, right? Yes. So that's where all their energy is focused, and that's where you need their energy focused, right, is to get through that transaction. And so sometimes to layer on, why don't you just run out and just get your estate plan in place? This is an emotional process as well.
Right.
To sit down and do all this stuff. So I think sometimes it can just be a lot. It's a lot to take on all at once if the couple really just thought they were pursuing only the real estate transaction.
Well, and the solution that I've played with, and every attorney just wants to kill me when I suggest it, is just get an estate plan done, take title in the typically a trust, and you can always amend or restate it, but at least now the property was purchased, it's recorded, it's insured in the trust, and then you can play around with the terms later. I mean, diminish what you do, but I'm just saying, because if you don't do that, like you say, people never get around to it, they put it off, or worse, they go through the whole plan and never put the property in the trust. And I deal with that all the time in my business. Right. So I don't know what the solution for that is. I had this fantasy when when the first COVID shot hit. My wife was a high risk because she had cancer, and so she was like one of the first wave or whatever we got approval of, and we went to this enormous church. I mean, it was like a university. It was so I had never seen it before. It was enormous, and there were like 20 rows of cars, 20 deep, lined up. And I remember thinking, and I know in South LA in particular, this is where it was, how many families pass without any proper plan for transition, how that wealth gets lost intergenerationally. I see that all the time. What if they just had like an estate planning, like just whipped out just a quick one, just sign here, and then here's the number for the attorney who will fix the mess, but get your property in. You can't really do that. I understand. No. That's my fantasy.
As a practical matter, what you're saying is true. Like just set up a trust, and if you don't like the terms, you can amend it later. But I think it comes back to that emotional burden of like, oh my God, now we're going to sit down and talk about dying while I'm in the middle of the biggest transaction of my life. What I've suggested with real estate agents I work with is, if you refer them at the end of the transaction, like now you own this, it's a hot potato. You got to get this into a trust.
Yes.
I said, I'll give them the consultation for free as a housewarming gift. Whatever seems like a warm transition from now you've closed this transaction, but you're not done. That's, I think, probably the second best thing you can do, because they're relieved, the dust is settled, they're in their home, that everything worked out, they can afford it, and now it's time to go ahead and dot the I's and cross the T's, right?
And under the cobbler's kids have no shoes, I'm saying this, I'm literally in a transaction to buy property as a flip. I want to take title in a trust. I don't want to take it personally. I don't want to put it in my business corporation. And I know our trust needs to be updated. Now, my wife has been ill, and so I've put off doing something that requires a lot of time and all that with her. Yeah. And so I said, well, let's just buy the property in the trust as it is, and we need to get around to this. Well, when am I going to get around to it? If I create a deadline, I'm never going to get around to it. I'll always be busy. I'm always busy, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So as soon as we're done with this, Bill, you need to call your attorney and make an appointment and get it done.
You know what's pathetic is there was a company, an organization, nonprofit, that does health directives specialized for religious Jews. I'm Jewish and I'm religious. And so we have certain practices that should be amended that maybe people aren't really just don't think about or are as concerned about, and that we are. More importantly, you don't want to have family fighting over it. So if it's in writing, whatever you do, the right or wrong thing, it's in writing and it eliminates the arguments. And I think Jewish people are known for arguing over everything. And so I interviewed this, I kind of helped promote them coming to our synagogue in Beverly Hills about 2 months ago. I promised the rabbi of this organization, okay, I'm gonna have my health directives done before the event because we all need to do this. And I'm sitting here saying to myself, okay, let's be honest, Bill, I still haven't done it.
Oh no, you're waiting.
No, I have health directives. I just don't have the ones that are more up to date and more proper.
Yeah.
Well, because this is tough stuff. Like I'm not getting paid. I don't get a commission check for it. Now I got paid a commission check, I probably would jump all over it.
Sure. Yeah. No, the only reward is peace of mind. And sometimes we underappreciate how valuable that is until after we've done it. And then like so many clients, we were finishing up and I'm handing them their book and they say, oh my God, I feel so much better. It's immediate. It's done. And now when those thoughts come to your mind, what happens if you say, oh, I've got a plan. It's fine. I'm not worried about it.
The biggest state of my career I'm working on now, $40 million in assets, about $20 million of real estate, which I'm involved with, and it's great business, and I'm enjoying it, and I help bring in the attorney and bring in the fiduciary, and we're doing really well. He had an estate plan. He paid, I know, at least $5,000 initially, and he had the plan, and nothing was actually, because it wasn't done. He still wanted to make some changes.
Oh, no.
And he passed.
Oh, no.
It's a probate. And it was a nightmare because he had a huge property management company and then trying to get bank accounts that are in the name of the corporation, which is owned by the probate estate. And the bank, First Republic, went out of business. And so Chase is taking over and trying to convince them that, everything's done right. It was a nightmare. And I remember thinking, and I don't know who the attorney is. I don't. So I hate to spare somebody, but man, you got paid, but what did the customer got? Nothing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I can't, like I said, I can't push people to finish. Yeah. But I really prefer to have people in and out within 4 weeks. I don't like to have it take any longer than that.
Yeah.
For that reason. I mean, I had this one, this was years ago. There was this gentleman that would call every month and schedule a consultation. And then a couple of days before the consultation, he'd call and reschedule the consultation for the next month. And he did this for so long that like all of us knew his name. And I'd see him come up with a counter and I'd be like, really? And he'd say, oh, no, he's called. He's going to. One time we called because, he hadn't changed it. And so they were calling to confirm the appointment and he had passed away. And like we never even got to have the conversation, and that's hard. I'm not sure what more I could have done or my staff could have done to reassure him or make him feel comfortable or make him feel safe to come in and talk to us. But I think for some people, just stepping in the door, walking over that threshold, knowing you're going to have this conversation is really daunting.
Is it your office, like the carpet or the paint, you think? Just kidding.
No, man, it's the fear of death, the fear of talking about it.
Yeah, I think
that's
you're right.
That's why we made the book look so like spacey and made the, death has so many different representations in that book, and all of them are personalized in some way or humanized in some way. And that's kind of the point, along with the funny stories, and all that stuff is like, it's going to happen to all of us. It's going to happen to everyone,
What? What?
It's okay.
Yeah. I mean, as I've gotten older, I realized that. And then I'm blessed to have 2 grandkids. We have a third on the way. And I realized there's an end date at some point here. What do I want that to look like? And so I'm increasingly thinking about it in terms of relationships. And in terms of my financial legacy, I'm trying to do better. And I want a business that my grandkids will look at and say, oh, Grandpa did this. I didn't just sell houses. He had a podcast. He helped people. And hopefully, and there's some other good things we have going on. So, it's really interesting, Nicole. As we wrap up here, I just want to say that, this is our 3rd or 4th video I think we've done. And again, when I started with you, it seemed like you were so buttoned down and conservative and traditional, attorney-ish, and that's not a compliment. That is. No, you're professional. I think that, and I strive for that. But what I realize is not only are you very much in touch with the heart of the people you deal with, but how it reminds me how important that is in dealing with clients. That you can have, it's not a function of money, it's not a function of wealth. It's really a function of these are human beings one at a time, and we need to inspire them and motivate them and follow up with them and hopefully care enough about them, love them enough to put the work in to help them get the job done. So I appreciate, like I said, it's fun talking about your book and the scary artwork that'll keep me up tonight. But I'll focus on the jokes inside the book instead.
Well, maybe it'll help you pick up the phone and make that appointment you need to make.
Yeah, I need to talk to my wife to get her approval to do that. But yes, I think that definitely is definitely on the list of things that we need to deal with shortly and not too far off. So, but thank you. So Nicole, again, thank you so much. And just for those who want to get in touch with you, your website, let's see, we'll put this up, is NevadaCouncil.com is the website. Beautiful picture. I love. It's mesmerizing, by the way. I don't know where in Nevada this is, but it's just I've had this on my screen before I call, and it comes in, and does it ever end? Is it a loop? I don't know. The whole thing is kind of.
I don't know how they make those loops loop where you don't actually go anywhere, but it works, right?
And you do some general counsel work, but mostly estate planning and state administration. Nevada Council, again, is the website. Nicole Harvey, 775-832-3012. Contact information down below. Thank you so much again for educating us, and I think more importantly here, inspiring us and encouraging us to do the right thing. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
And for the rest of you, this is Estate Planning Weekly podcast. We do this every week. We interview typically top real attorneys in the field, as well as professionals, vendors that support us and help us do our business better. Love to have you take a look at it. If you like it, subscribe. Comments in. If you're an attorney who wants to be interviewed, please let me know. Reach out to me. I'm always looking for new people to include in the process. Bill Gross, at Bill Gross Probate on social media. If I can help in any way, please reach out. And as always, make today your best day ever. Thank you so much.
When life brings unexpected changes, managing inherited property shouldn't add to your stress. Magnum Properties specializes in probate and trust real estate management. We handle the complexities while you focus on what matters most. From property maintenance to tenant relations, from legal compliance to maximizing value, we're your trusted partner through every step. Magnum Properties, Inc., turning property challenges into peace of mind. Call us today at 213-264-4396 or visit magnumprops.com. America is a maritime nation. Our freedom and security depend on strong sea services. The Beverly Hills Council of the Navy League stands with our Navy, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, and Merchant Marine through community support, education, and advocacy. For over 120 years, Americans of all walks of life have heeded our call. No prior military service is required to join our mission. The Beverly Hills Council of the Navy League of the United States. Help us support those who serve at sea. Visit NavyLeague.org.